Welcome to What's Happening. I'm your host today, Paula Hersey, and it's the most wonderful time of the year. According to the Cape Cod Community Media staff, it's time for the Woods Hole Film Festival. 25 years, and today we have the founder and director with me, Judy Laster. Welcome.
Thank you. So nice to be here.
25 years.
And I'm only 26. How did that happen?
How did that happen? Really, how did you found the Woods Hole Film Festival?
It really happened organically. I had made a film. Well, first of all, in college I was taking film classes.
Okay.
And then went to law school. After law school, decided to get back into film. And I made a spaghetti western in Woods Hole. Made all my friends be in it, of course,
right.
and needed a reason to show it. So a friend of mine and I started the Woods Hole Film Festival.
My God, that's a cool story.
Yeah. We showed 5 films.
Right.
It was 1 hour, 1 day, completely packed. And then people started finding us.
Right.
So it just really took on a life of its own.
So 5 films, 1 day. You're now up to basically a week of films. A week, and how many films?
So it's 8 days.
8 days.
Over 130 films.
Wow.
Plus panel discussions, workshops, music, special events. We have something for everybody. It runs the gamut. And we get films submitted to us from around the world.
I have noticed that. You had one submitted from an Afghan filmmaker.
Yep. We've had, really every country in the world now, because what happened 25 years ago, there was no real internet as we know it.
Right.
When the internet exploded, it really connected the world and it really changed the world of independent films. So I would say in the last 10 years, we've seen an extreme explosion in the number of films that are being submitted from other countries.
That's great.
Yeah, it's really
I
interesting.
love how the internet has brought us together, and there's certain industries that have embraced that. You know, to be able to see filmmakers from all over different companies. I just think that's one of the greatest things in the world. So we're going to talk a little bit about all that goes on in those 8 days.
Mm-hmm.
There's screenings, musics, workshops, entertainment. Let's talk about the screenings and films first. So
Okay.
there's documentaries.
Yep.
There's narratives, and there's shorts. And then shorts have their own categories too? What are
Right.
shorts? Can you give us a little information on
Well,
that?
let's start out with documentaries,
Documentaries,
and
okay.
documentaries and narratives. So, you know, when people go to a regular movie theater, they don't always say, well, what genre is the film? They just
Right.
know they want to go see a film, and it's kind of interesting. But in the independent film world, we sort of break it down into the type of film that it is. And so we have a lot of documentaries, a lot of narrative fiction films. So those are films based on fictional stories.
Okay.
And so we have about 40 feature films, and then the rest of the 130 or so films are shorts. So for us, a film is a short film if it's 40 minutes or under.
Okay.
The shortest film we've ever had, it was called Bambi Meets Godzilla, and the whole entire thing with credits is 1 minute. But it's probably one of the most iconic films ever made too. So if you can tell a story in 1 minute, you know, more power to you. But so we have a really wide variety of shorts too. And within the shorts section, there are dramatic films, comedies, animation, documentaries as well.
Wow. Can you highlight some of the films from the genres from the documentaries?
Sure. I mean, so one of the things about a film festival is we really try and provide people an opportunity to see films that they would never get a chance to see otherwise. However, that being said, a number of these films will go on and have a life after the festival, either on television or some sort of download on demand, video on demand, and some of them have theatrical releases as well. But in this day and age where so many films are being made, many do not find their way to a screen, so that the screen that they find their way to is now often a film festival.
Oh, okay.
So, you know, if you look at, for example, on our opening day, Norman Lear, Just Another Version of You, was the opening night film at Sundance. It just actually opened in the sort of New York area as well, and it will be on television. It's a great documentary about Norman Lear, who I'm sure you probably remember, but many people probably might not. You know, he was the creator of Archie Bunker,
Oh, yeah.
Good Times, like almost every iconic sitcom in the 70s through the 80s he created. He is in his 90s, and the reason he can't be here right now is because he's finishing a new series on Netflix. So this is a person who had a huge influence on everybody who lived in that time in terms of the sociological commentary through comedy about what was happening. So it's a great film. And the filmmaker, who's part of a really great filmmaking team, one of the two filmmakers will be here. So I'd really recommend that. And speaking of that, we have probably 75% of the filmmakers who made the films will be at the film festival. And that differentiates just going to a movie theater. You know, a film festival is a great opportunity for people to see films with the people who actually made them and get a much better insight into what happened during that process.
That is one of the reasons I think that people really should go to this, is to have the opportunity. Will they be able to meet them?
Absolutely.
Wow.
They can feed them. They can buy them drinks. They can do whatever they want.
and obviously watch their film.
Watch their films. And the other thing that happens at a film festival is, so we give awards. So we give audience awards and jury awards. And so if you go to a film at the festival, you get to vote. And your vote could mean a huge thing to somebody if they win an audience award.
Right.
So people in the industry look at what awards films win, and that often gives them a leg up when they're looking for distribution afterward.
For distribution. So audience and then jury. A lot of people don't understand what a juried award is. I'm a photographer, so I do understand that. Can you give just a little basic explanation for a juried award?
Sure. So a juried award is something similar to an art show or something where we get professionals, but often peer professionals or people in the industry who, we have 3 people in each different category, and they are the jury, and they decide based on, you know, what the criteria that they look at, which film is going to win in that category.
Okay.
And the interesting thing every year is to see how the jury and the audience line up.
Right.
And often is overlap.
Oh.
Which is amazing.
Right.
Right? We have great audiences.
Well, 25 years of audiences, so I think they're doing their job well now.
They are. We've trained them.
You'd given me this anecdote before we started where a woman was buying tickets this year, but was telling the person in the box office about a film that she watched 10 years ago at the festival. So you have people that come back year after year.
We do. We have many people who plan their vacations around the film festival.
Okay.
And it's because I think what film festivals provide that's different than perhaps even other kinds of festivals, because we're an 8-day event, we really create a community for that 8 days. And because we're day and evening and we're happening in 5 different locations throughout Woods Hole and Falmouth, it's a chance to see a lot of different things, have a lot of different experiences, and have the people who are, you know, doing the same thing right there at the same time. And because Woods Hole is a village and everything is kind of within walking distance, you can see people on the street and just hang out and talk and do things that you might not do otherwise. So I think people like coming back for the camaraderie.
It's also a family event. There's things for kids to do there?
Absolutely. So about 10 years ago, we started including Kids Day. It's actually harder than you think to find independent films for kids, but because independent filmmakers generally are looking for a target audience that's going to be purchasing their film sort of on a, you know, for some sort of cable or theatrical, and kids programming is a whole different genre and category. But this year we have an amazing film, Song of the Sea, which is an animated film that I would just put up against anything about these kids. One of them is a selkie, and so the selkie gets lost, and the kid has to go find the selkie and get home, and it's just a really interesting story. And it's not for kids, really young kids. It's a little bit kind of sophisticated, but it's a great family film and beautiful, beautiful, beautiful animation.
So all of this 8 days, you put this together through submissions.
Yep.
But you have to plan this whole schedule. What are some of the highlights that when you're making this schedule, what comes to mind to say, hey, this is great for this day. Is there a process to that schedule? You must have refined it after 25 years, but
Well, first of all, what happens is, we start in October, we start accepting submissions, and we don't stop accepting submissions until May.
wow.
So it isn't until the middle of May that we actually know what our program is going to be, which means that we have to then move very quickly to fill out an 8-day, 5-screen, event schedule. And that means that, throughout the whole process, we're always thinking about, films that are highly rated, what we would want to keep, and then how they would be programmed throughout the week. And we really try and put things together that actually go well with each other. So an example of that is this year, on our closing night, we're showing a short film by this filmmaker who's from Africa. It's his first film. He graduated from Savannah College of Art and Design. His film is called Trail of Hope. It happens to go beautifully with a film, and we don't usually do this, but we invited this film to the festival called Sandstorm, which is the first Israeli-Arab co-production to exist. And it's about this Bedouin community and what happens intergenerationally so in the Bedouin community, the daughters are often promised to be married, but she falls in love with somebody and wants to marry him. And so it's a whole sort of dramatic undertaking. The film is beautiful, it's beautifully made, but it goes perfectly with Trail of Hope. And they were made completely independently, didn't know about each other. But when that kind of synergy happens, it's an exciting thing, and we have that happen every year.
So what about a narrative? What film's standing out for narratives this year?
So, we've got some great narratives. I would say Coming Through the Rye. That's
I
actually,
just read that. I
yeah.
thought that was great because that's one of my favorite books as a kid was Catcher in the Rye.
Right. So, and Chris Cooper, who's an Academy Award-winning filmmaker, stars in that film. We're hoping that he'll be here, but I would highly recommend that film to everybody.
Great. And you also have workshops and master classes. How does that work with all the films running during the day? Do those classes happen all on the same day, or do they run throughout the week?
So most of our film screenings are at night.
Okay.
So they start at 5 p.m. except for on the weekends. So our classes happen during the day.
Okay.
So we provide opportunities for people, and anybody is welcome to go to these. We have a filmmaker in residence program. So the filmmaker in residence this year, who is going to be showing 2 of her films. One is called Running Wild, The Life of Dayton O. Hyde, and another is called Borderline, 2 documentaries. She's going to teach a master class in documentary film production.
And when is that?
That is on Monday at 1 p.m. at the Old Woods Hole Fire Station.
I think I might want to go to that.
Right. So it's a great opportunity to learn from somebody who's had a very successful career. We have another workshop that's going to be happening on Wednesday about storyboarding for animation by a professor who is also part of our screening committee. He's coming out here, and he's going to talk about how do you storyboard a film. We have another workshop on using drones in filmmaking. And
Great.
so, that is a really popular thing now.
It is.
Drones have, anybody thinks they can use them, but actually being able to have the operating licensing and knowing how to really do it for a film is a whole other story. So if anybody's interested in learning about drone filmmaking, this is a place to do that. And then on Friday, one of our sponsors, Talamus, which is an equipment company in Boston, is coming down, and they're going to do a demonstration of a RED camera. So the RED camera, for those, this may be inside baseball, but in filmmaking now, almost no films are made on film. They are made with digital cameras. But the RED camera is known and liked by filmmakers because it gives, the output looks as close as it can to 35 millimeter film. So this is a new film, a new camera that's coming out, and so they're going to do RED demonstrations.
I think we'd have some staff that would want to see that, whether we could afford it here, but it's always nice to dream, right?
Right.
We're dreaming of drones as well. So all of this, 8 days going on, when you put this together 25 years ago, did you think it would grow to be this huge?
So when we started this, we actually decided tongue-in-cheekly, and so a friend of mine and I started this, but then I sort of kept it going. We would create the East Coast version of the Sundance Film Festival, which at that time was 10 years old, which at that time was probably a lot like we are. You know, Park City was a small-ish town. It wasn't the independent film powerhouse that it is now. So I guess sort of in the back of our mind, we were really thinking that this would have some sort of longevity. Whether it was an actual plan to do it, no, but it just happened because people kept finding us, and there was a need.
So that comes back to another question that I have. One, because one of our staff members, Jay Sheehan, is so very heavily involved in the technical side of this. 25 years ago, the technology has changed dramatically in how you present the audio, all of the venues. There's multiple venues, by the way. People, I don't think, realize that Redfield is one of them. Falmouth Academy, I think, is another one.
Academy, yep.
And then you have the firehouse in Woods
Old
Hole?
Woods Hole Fire Station,
Right.
Community Hall, Lilly Auditorium at the Marine Biological Laboratory.
So all of that technical pieces of it, you must have a cadre of volunteers that kind of help put this production on.
We do. We have
Okay.
a lot of volunteers. This really, you know, to use an overused phrase, it does take a village to make this happen.
Right.
Because with 5 venues happening simultaneously, and they're not all 5 at the same time, but you know, it's a lot.
Right.
But you were sort of talking about technology. Technology has changed completely. When we first started doing this, the films that we showed were either on 16 millimeter or VHS. At some point, we were able to show 35 millimeter, and those film canisters weighed like 100 pounds and cost hundreds of dollars to ship. But now, you know, nothing is made on film, nothing is shown on film.
Comes on a thumb drive.
Comes on a thumb drive or, you know, DCP, so digital cinema projection is where it's at right now. And we, with our partners at the Woods Hole Oceanographic Institution, are super lucky that we just installed a digital cinema projection system in Redfield Auditorium with 7.1 surround sound. So the film going experience is completely different.
And all of this takes money, doesn't it?
It does.
I think you got some good sponsors you want to mention?
We do have some good sponsors, but before that, can I talk about
Sure.
music?
Great.
So
Oh yeah, you have music too.
one of the things at the festival that we've always tried to do is integrate music into what we're doing. And so every day we have parties as well, and at those parties we have fabulous musicians. So we try and keep it as local as possible, but also get the right people when they come along. So I just want to mention Sarah Swain and the O-Boys will be playing, James Montgomery, Johnny Hoy and the Bluefish,
Oh, Johnny Hoy.
Bittersweet. The Old Silver Band is reuniting for one night. They were local favorites because Sam Bush, who we're showing a film about, is taking time off his tour to come here to be at the screening of his film on Wednesday. So I would really recommend everybody come to everything. It's, you know, but back to the sponsors. We have some great sponsors. Celebrity Cruises has come on board for the first time.
No pun intended.
Right, we're excited about that. And then just a variety of them, so.
Well, that's great. It was wonderful to hear the story, especially, I've not been to the Woods Hole Film Festival. I am going to make a serious effort to get there this week,
Well,
the opening weekend.
Please
so.
do. I want to say that we have plenty of parking and public transportation.
Fantastic.
So, and if people want to buy tickets, they're online at woodsholefilmfestival.org.
Yeah, and there's a variety of different ways that you could buy tickets for all the different documentaries, narratives, and
Right,
things
and
like
we have
that.
trailers and everything for all the films online.
So we will see some trailers at the end of the show. So thank you very much for being here. I know it's a trek in the summertime from Woods Hole down here.
Yes, it is.
So thank you for
Thank you
making
for
that
having
trek
me.
and for letting our viewers really have some insight into the Woods Hole Film Festival.
Well, we appreciate your support.
Happy 25th.
Thank you.
I'm Paula Hersey, and this is What's Happening.
Meet Jamie Schwartz.
Asshole!
Jamie is desperate to be a worldly adolescent in a world that doesn't want him. in situations like that, a boy can get notions.
You're going to adapt Catcher in the Rye.
Yes, sir.
Why?
Uh-oh. He's gone total Holden.
Dear Mr. Salinger, if you read this letter and think I'm a pain in the ass, I'm sorry. I'm one of 575 inmates here at Crampton Prep. I say inmates because here at Crampton, it seems like you always have to watch your back.
Open your eyes. The storm is not so far away. All my words are bouncing off the wall.
What'd you wish for?
That you'd kiss me.
He could be anywhere in there. He could be in the next aisle, or he could be behind the counter. He could even be the postman incognito. Mr. Jerome David Salinger.
Nope, never heard of him.
Is your postmaster around?
I am the postmaster.
We won't find him. Nobody does. Nobody talks to him. Nobody gets near him.
If we don't give up, we'll find him.
I don't care about finding him anymore.
Don't hold your breath.
Jamie, why didn't you tell me?
I'll hold my breath.
You do that play, you're stealing.
Please, sir.
I have to go.
Mr. Salinger.
I'll hold my breath for you. I'll hold my breath for you. I'll hold my breath for you. I'll hold my breath.
This afternoon, I'm gonna meet with the national security agents who will come to see me at 3 o'clock and investigate on what I've been doing during this summer.
我们再来关注海南小学校长带女生开房事件。5月8号，万宁县某小学的班主任发现该班的6名6年级女生没有来上课。
就是他那个校长去玩啊、开房啊，那个校长就是在包厢里，就是到10分钟要他是摸摸还是揽还抱住好这样。
就是我们打电话打给谁，政府都知道。他说交往不用签署，就是媒体啊，还有大陆的律师。
为什么这个校长他找了6名女孩去开房？其实他说是重大的性贿赂。
海南这种事情在中国发生无数次，所以我们来到海南准备进行抗议，不想让罪犯再次逃脱。
A few days later, the protests went viral.
叶海燕的行为小学生女生开房被诉，咨询定期下访。叶海燕下访。
With so much attention focused on the case, the government reacted.
不要告诉你，既然你是外来员工，我们是有偿盘查你的。如果我们是要把我们全部抓起来。我拿照片出来看一下。干什么朝我上架？你让你说没道理的做。哪里写的？
楼下还有4、5个人守着。
那完蛋。我也不记得我们被女高赶出了2次还是赶出了3次。便衣威胁他说：“如果你们再来，就打断你的腿什么的。”
可能我的个性就是比较强硬的，属于那种人，就把我关了、把我杀了的时候，可能我都不会改变。
He has been around approximately forever. He is 92 years old. Ladies and gentlemen, Norman Lear.
You know what I like about you, Archie?
What's that, Mort?
Nothing. Norman Lear has changed the face of television. And at least 120 million Americans watch Norman Lear shows every week.
Oh, no, sir, Master Jefferson. You done showed me the way. Stop it! Stop it! Say please.
Television can be broken into two parts, before Norman and after Norman.
This is a period of time where we were at probably our greatest change socially. Mainstream television was one of the last things to jump, and the first person to force it over that hill was Norman.
All in the Family was the greatest.
Do you have a quick answer for the people who say the show reinforces bigotry?
Yes, my quick answer is no.
I never said a guy who wears glasses is a queer. A guy who wears glasses is a four eyes. A guy who is a fag is a queer.
We used to say it's too hip for the room.
There weren't any African Americans on TV at that time, and I didn't want to disparage a black family.
She's the fuse that sets off Kid Dynamite!
There are lines that were meant for you to say because you were black.
It's time for God's people to come out of the churches and change America.
I was concerned about what I was seeing on television, mixing politics and religion. So I thought, I want to take the flag back for all of us.
He called me and said, guess what? I own the Declaration of Independence.
Laughter, just has to add time. If lifting weights or running, can add time, God, how laughter can add time. Remember, you heard it here.
Guys like us, we had it made. Knows what I
To cure your impotence, you want me to implant goat testicles into you.
Well, Doc, that can't be worse than the nuts I got.
Well...
Sweet sugar, honey, bunny. You can buy my love with your money.
At first, they came bringing their own goats. Pretty soon, he had his own herd of goats out back. The patient would select a goat with which he felt the most connection. Then they would come in and do this sort of double operation.
My wife just gave birth to our first child. I am living proof that the goat glands in my scrotus are working.
I'd show all of you right now if the ladies weren't present.
Dr. Brinkley. Are they shutting you down?
Is your form of medicine found in any textbook?
I highly doubt it.
Did you learn it in school?
Of course not.
Then how do you know it works?
He had a sort of weird sex appeal.
He was kind of like the Dr. Ruth Westheimer of the 20s and 30s. He was already grooming himself for the next move.
The harder they hit me, the higher I bounce.
XCRA was the world's most powerful broadcasting station.
He had a million ideas and had a huge influence on the course of popular culture. He saw the future.
Por eso yo soy cubana y me muero siendo cubana. Por eso yo soy cubana y me muero siendo cubana. Por eso yo soy cubana y me muero cubana.
ايش حصرك؟ ها؟ ايش حصرك؟ ما يرسل حد توصي على الخير. ايوه دخل قصاب دخل بالعجل.
سال گذشته یونایتد نیشن گزارش داده است که بیشتر از 100 حمله بر روی تحصیل دختران صورت گرفته است.
When I opened the school, the first year was very tough.
که شامل آتش زدن مدارس، حمله‌های انتحاری، اسد پاشیدن روی دختران و همچنین آلوده کردن آب‌های آشامیدنی مدارس.
Some men came inside and said, please make it into a boys' school because the boys are the backbone of Afghanistan. And I said, well, you know that the women are eyesight of Afghanistan, and unfortunately you all are blind.
قبول کردم گفتم که خیر است ما بر قسم شاید درس خود پیش میبرم.
My name is Zakia, my father name.
ما طرفشان کردم سنای دیگر بود. کاکا این طرف ما کرد که حال تو عروس ما شدی نمیتونی مکتب بری. استاد کل امیدوارم که از فقط از اون تنگی که مادر میخرم کل امیدم سنه دروازه مکتب است که من کی مکتب خود خلاص میکنم بتم.
ما با این امید دارم. اینای بنیاد مکتب. I wanted to look in their eyes and say that you have to make a change. Trust that yes, our girls can get educated. We can make a better life